Are you ready to break or make a pick that's going to do it? We are live tonight on Monday. It is April 14th. The clock is ticking down on the NFL draft. We have a ton for you. We're going to do a quick mock draft for you. Give you a little bit here. You guys are going to make a pick or two. We're going to answer some questions. But before we get to any of that, Dan's going to take a deep breath. You guys know him. This is Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. Welcome to RGR Football. We made it, folks.
We did it.
It's been a grind, but we made it. Officially tonight, as of right now, you guys can get out and get the draft guide. We have released the 2025 NFL draft guide from Rogue Analytics, including my work, Dan's work, our guy EJ taking care of the secondary. John Hickman joined us this year to do some offensive line. Jeff Porter running down all the statistical information that sets the difference between, oh, this guy scored 22 touchdowns this year versus this guy scored a touchdown every third time he touched the ball in this situation, and we give it to you all in one package on that draft guide. Do not miss it. Those of you that know already know, and I know that a lot of you do. So check it out. It's at a very simple, I haven't done the Bitly for it yet. We just got it done this afternoon. We've been burning it, folks. I mean, burning it to get it done. But it is available at a link in the description. You can go check that out right now. And don't forget, for you guys, because I love you, use that code RGR and get yourself a discount. But this is the thing. You can watch all the film if you want. We've done a ton of it for you. Maybe not as much as Dane Brugler, but that is what it is. Or Dane's team, let's be real. But we're going to set you and we're going to get you ready, and it's going to help immensely. So please support us in our efforts to always make the NFL draft a thing for you to enjoy and the Chiefs to get better at. So now that it's over, let's take a second. How's your breathing?
I'm feeling? Good now. I'm feeling okay. This weekend obviously was a little stressful when some things happened that I wasn't prepared for, but you figure it out, you get it done, and that's the name of the game right now. And it's a little later than we wanted to get it done, and handling certain things at the same time needs to be better on my part, and I will acknowledge that. I told Ryan that we'll be a little bit better going forward with this, and now that I've got a year of experience doing, putting multiple things, watching more prospects and stuff like that at the same time, I will have a better handle on this for next year, so we don't have to come up against the clock as much as we'd like to. So it's always fun to do. This year may be more stressful than the previous couple of years, but overall I'm very happy with what we were able to get done. And obviously Ryan deserves such a giant round of applause for grinding to put this together with the sheets and the data, everything, splicing all that together, putting the athletic matrix in there. It was a hell of an effort.
Oh, it is. And it's always a grind. It's always a lot of fun. Kudos to everyone who helps everybody on our team. And those of you that are considering it, we might even get Caroline to contribute at some point for her advanced stuff. We are always on the grind. And this has started a long time ago for me, back when I was still a graduate assistant coach at Kansas, going through pro days and tabulating all this data for the scouts. Every older scout that you see in his 50s, maybe even his 60s, I probably worked with him at one time or another on a couple of draft cycles in the late 90s. And that's what it all comes down to. And so this is our version of it. We really appreciate you guys being with us and taking the time to do it. But it's all about making the draft work for the Chiefs and work for you and do what it wants to do. So let's run through what we want to do with this particular mock draft. So I'm going to put this up on the screen. You guys are going to help us make these picks, because I am of the opinion that the Chiefs have had in the biggest left tackle prospect, even though it is a risk, even though it could thwart a lot of what you're trying to do. If you make a pick in the first round and it doesn't work out, Josh Simmons is clearly the number one guy on both of our boards, and you guys are going to get my draft board for free on NFL 33 a couple days before the draft. And if Dan has time to do one, he will as well. But we always put it out for free. You don't have to be the subscriber. You don't have to pay for anything. You can get it on NFL 33 for absolutely free. And it'll tell you exactly where I would draft somebody after, this is my 20th draft. So, there's a lot of information there. But we're going to get in here and we're going to make a selection. And here's my big thing is, if you were to decide after these visits, and a couple of guys have been in, and are in the building, you get your hands on them, especially a guy that has a patella tendon injury like Josh Simmons has had, a guy that we honestly have to be a little bit nervous about. We recognize that. If you are going to go that way, you're probably going to have to go up. I don't think it's going to fall all the way to 31 because honestly, he looked too fluid at the Ohio State Pro Day. He was out there for about 3.5 seconds. But man, a dude that size, moving, cutting, even if it's a tiny, tiny prospect of a drill, it still makes NFL teams feel more comfortable. I feel more comfortable, and I know better. But that's how that works. Yeah. So I think they would have to trade up. How comfortable are you with trading up for him?
For him, I'm very comfortable doing it because I do believe he's the best tackle in his class. I didn't think it's particularly close, to be honest with you. I think that he's got the best outlook at left tackle as well. So if that's what they want to do, again, I know that there's a lot of talk right now out there about how it doesn't make sense for the Chiefs to draft a tackle in the first round. That's not true. It makes a lot of sense because of the situation in the future. We've talked about this many times. They don't have tackles of the future. If you believe what they've said about Kingsley Suamataia, that he's probably going to be a guard, that means they don't have a left tackle of the future. And that also means they don't have a right tackle of the future. So there is a problem in the direct year when if you don't have someone at right tackle, and then you have to figure out left tackle a year from now. So all of this is to say, this year doesn't have to be about right now. It doesn't have to. Josh Simmons, if he is the pick, if the Chiefs go up and get him, he can sit. And I know what everyone's going to say. Why are we letting a first-round pick sit? Well, guess what? To be better off in the future. You have already committed your team and plugged the holes for 2025. You've done that. They've already done it. They are putting themselves in the position to make their team better for the future if that's the way they want to go. I'm not saying it's the best way to go. I don't know if it's the best way to go. I'm just telling you, if they do, it makes sense based off of what they've done and the position they put themselves in.
Steven, I appreciate your question. And don't worry, folks, we are going to get to your questions as we run through this. Right now, in the chat, vote. Do you want to trade up or not? And I'm going to explain exactly the reason that I even bring it up, and that is because of this name. The guy that is the number 1 on my particular board at defensive tackle is going higher and higher and higher, as he should, because Walter Nolan actually can be a D1 tackle. And he's out of range for the Chiefs now. I thought that was the second fallback, blue chip prospect on my board that I could live with. Now you're going to have to trade up for either of them at this point. And I don't think there's anything that makes more sense than trying to fill one of your two major gaps with a trade up. So the question is, yay or nay, do you guys want to trade up or not? It looks like so far, most people are saying yes. Yeah. Give it a chance here. I'm going to put this deal together. I've kind of pre-worked this. I was trying to stop at the Bucks because I've been able to get this to work as well. But 23 is where I think we can get to. We're going to move up to 23 from 31. We're going to go back to 87 from 66. And I think that's perfectly acceptable because I don't need 63 and 66 at the same time if I don't have to. So if we can get up, pull back, and we're going to pick up 159 for later. I'll even get rid of 257 just for giggles because it'll make it that much easier, right? And this generally goes through as it just did. So Broncos, Steelers, Chargers are in front of us. Let's see what happens. And he goes. I must have done this 20 times in the last 2 days, and that has never happened. But
that's what happens. That is it. That's it.
It is what happens. I think I'm going to try it again as you give your opinion. But in this situation, there was a trade down. I like that, Lee Mosby. Good job. We did trade up. We did have an opportunity. I'm going to run the scenario again here in a second. But look what it did. It left a couple of players on here, one being Emeka Egbuka. And if this is the way that it works out, he is probably my favorite prospect for the Chiefs in particular. I can't say that he's the number 1 overall. You can have your arguments about McMillan or whatever you want to do. But for the Chiefs, fitting in, playing in an offense, he would be the number 1 on my board for the Chiefs. So either way here, they get a top prospect at their position. What do you think of that while I try to redo this?
Yeah, there's 3 players that I would take right here. And I know you. I think Luther Burden would also be on the board as well. I'm not going to rule that out specifically because of what he can do after the catch. There's lots of work that he has to do as a receiver, but Egbuka is a guy that can play all 3 positions on your offense immediately. He was already asked to do that basically the last few years at Ohio State because of the different players they've had to move in and out and around. So he has all that experience doing that. Loveland is also another player that I would just draft not care about it at all and do that in a heartbeat because of what he could be in the future. But also, I think that Omarion Hampton would also be, I wouldn't be trading up for Omarion, by the way. But if this were the situation where the Chiefs were picking, I would take him in that scenario. But that's just I would take him at 31 and I wouldn't look back.
Okay. I like that plan. I'm trying to push the Bucks here to do this deal. And again, I have gotten this to go in the past as well. We'll see if we can continue that. And, if I had to give up 133 in this scenario, I'm going to do that. See if we can get that to plug through, because we've already wasted a lot of the time that I was going to use on this mock draft. So 54 just isn't going to do it. So I'm going to throw in a couple extra things just to get them gone because I don't really want them anyway. And it doesn't look like that's even going to happen. So,
all right, let's just stick and pick in this, get it through so we can answer some questions this evening.
Did he go? He did. He went 16 anyway in this scenario. So you're right. Okay, so we'll stick and pick. I like that plan. So again, Hampton you would not trade up for, but if he's here, you like him, right?
I like him. Trey Amos. I mean, the Chiefs would probably love Josh Connolly here too. That seems to be it. Derek Harmon's another one that I think the Chiefs would be interested in, who is the player that I'm breaking down for Wednesday. So sweet. Maybe we just take him there, and then we talk about Wednesday, all the things that he does well and still needs to improve upon. How about that?
There we go. And evidently that ended our draft.
That's it. All right. Cool.
Good times. Okay, so we tried and failed, folks. And I swear, I'll just do this tomorrow night. I'll do another live one. You guys will make all the picks. I will even hardly set it up for you. So, yes, good eye there, David. Thank you for paying attention. I appreciate you. Let's get on to your questions since the mock draft generator is not working in my favor tonight. We'll get after it. But I'll do a live one with you guys tomorrow, and you guys can make the picks. It'll be a good time. We'll do it at the same time. And we'll go slower. Maybe that's part of my problem. So
maybe
that said, as we get down to it, the prospect of what's value for the Chiefs is what weighs on my mind. We want to know what's on yours. So make sure if you want a question on tonight, if you definitely want to get on the show, hit the super chat. We see some in here already. We appreciate you guys. But if you just have a topic, get it out there as well. Thank you, David. Appreciate you. Steve has, in building an NFL roster, what is more important, raising the floor talent level in the bottom half of the roster or raising the ceiling talent level at the upper half of the roster? Well, short answer is both. And they're done in different ways. You make big stabs at the big positions, right? The Chiefs traded up to get Patrick Mahomes. We're talking about doing this for a left tackle or a defensive tackle, someone else to pass rush the other quarterback, right? You do that in the draft and you try to get out and above and heavy. You work on lower end day 3 picks to fill in the roster, maybe raise your athleticism, raise your production, that kind of thing. The Chiefs like to go to the league and do it in free agency as well, because you can get some cheap deals on guys who know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think we can look at this at a pretty, for me, it's pretty simple. Free agency is to build the foundation of your roster. It's to build the foundation. And the Chiefs specifically project improvement in those players. We've seen it year after year after year. That doesn't always work out. They do the same thing with the draft, is where a guy like Trent McDuffie did both. It rose the floor and the ceiling because of how talented he is. But a pick like George Karlaftis immediately raises the floor, but maybe it doesn't have the type of ceiling as you're looking for. Nick Bolton, true day one starter, rose the floor of the defense. Upside wasn't necessarily there, but we've seen him get better just from a pure zone coverage standpoint. But overall, you see how the different picks that they make have impacted the floor and the ceiling of the roster. They made some swings that have not necessarily always worked out either. So they're trying to do both. Like Ryan said, it's always hard in a draft to be able to say we did both, right? You want to be able to do that. But typically what we've seen is the Chiefs improve the floor of their roster, but some of their upside picks just have not panned out.
Yeah, it makes it difficult. And that's the way that you're evaluating and you're taking chances every single time. And that's why we try to give you as many aspects. We don't just watch film. It's not a pure scouting department here for what Dan and I do, for what the rest of Rogue ABC does. We try to give you multiple views at a player, and we use the algorithms to put that together. So in short, yes, Lee, thank you for asking. You might have gotten in here late. It is out. It is ready. It's at that link down below, and use the code RGR. It'll get you something for it. I think that's the best way to do is try to attack it from both ends to get into the middle. I think that's a good way to go about a draft. Info. This draft seems lackluster in the first. Anyone beyond Hunter and Carter that you think will be a star? I mean,
loaded question.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, a couple of guys that could be. I think if Travion Henderson stays healthy, and that's a big ask. I think he could be a legitimate star. Like he has the talent level to do that. But the reason that I'm still hesitant on drafting a guy like that is because of the injury history. I'm worried that he's not going to be able to be an every single down runner because Ohio State said we don't want to do that. They brought in Judkins and turned him into the hammer for that offense. Like,
yeah,
that's not even what his style of play was at Ole Miss. Like, he was a much better athlete and made guys miss better at Ole Miss. But they brought him in and he said, you're going to be the workhorse in this regard, and we're going to use Travion Henderson as the change of pace back. So he's a guy, if he stays healthy, I think could absolutely be that. I don't have my list pulled up here right now, but
I will say this. It's hard to see some of them. Cam Ward is the best quarterback in this draft. I don't doubt that. I happen to agree with it. He's still maybe the 5th, maybe the 6th in last year's class on the same board for me. And that's the thing that, despite all the hype and him, possibly going number 1 here, which I'm still not convinced. I will throw you a fun scenario next week in a mock draft because I listen to Mike Borgonson. I think if there's a generational talent in this class, Dan, I think it's probably Hunter rather than Ward. And that's the first thing he said about this draft cycle. We're going to take a generational talent over some guy. So I have trouble seeing that. I really do feel like Ibuka could be the evolution of what JSN we had hoped to be because of a little bit, I think, stronger play through contact, a little bit better ability to handle the physicality of the NFL game. I think that he has a chance to be a star as well. I
think he's Rashee Rice. That's how I think Emeka Ibuka is. I think that's who he is and who he could be in the NFL. Do I think that's a star? No. I think that's a really good player. And that's kind of how I feel about this class. There's going to be a lot of really good players, like guys that just play a long time and they're productive. They're not stars. But who knows? We don't actually know. There's also a lot of upside guys too that are going to go at the end of the first round and in the top of day 2 that we have to wait on. Jalen Walker could develop into a stud. He legitimately could. Like the right now, Nolan Smith with the Eagles is starting to do that. That's the type of path that he would have to take because he is a bit of a smaller player, but he plays with his hair on fire. Like, that's how he plays. So there are guys, Walter Nolan, another one who could be a legitimate star in the NFL if he works. If he works. That's the thing. You have to be able to separate the talent from the work ethic. And we don't always know that. That's why the teams bring these guys in for 30 visits to get into their mindset. Are we going to be able to get the most out of you? But most importantly, are you going to be able to get the most out of you? Because we can only do so much. Teams have to rely on players with their work ethic to get better just as much as they can with their coaching staff.
I completely agree. And that's what the bottom line is. Beefy, thank you. On Locked On Today earlier, you said that Kelvin Banks could survive at left tackle. Is that worth a first-round pick? He would be a good starter for us or just serviceable. I think he will eventually be a good starter. What I mean is, I don't think he can walk in and steal the job from Moore. That's what I'm trying to say is he will survive. He will learn. He would be an understudy. I think they made a mistake in throwing Kingsley out so early without knowing that we're going to have to survive some growing pains. I don't mind him being out there. I was for Kingsley starting the season. I just don't like the way they treated it after things didn't go swimmingly. So don't get me wrong. I do think Kelvin Banks is a tackle. A lot of folks have been talking the last couple of weeks about him going into guard. He can certainly do that. But I think he is a tackle, and he can survive his not 35-inch arm length. He's got 33 and 5/8 by the measurements that I have recorded. That is good enough to be serviceable in what he does at tackle, in my opinion.
I think he's a right tackle. Like, that's the thing. I think he's a right tackle. I think that's going to be his best position. Like, I feel the same way about Jalen Moore. I think he'd be best at right tackle. Like, I just, that's my opinion. Like, I that's how I feel about these guys. And I like Kelvin Banks. I think that he's already a run an offensive running tackle who's going to lift the floor of your run game immediately because he's very good as a run blocker. He's just got some problems in terms of playing against fast athletes on the left side. Just play on the right side. I think he can play on the right side just fine.
I agree. It's certainly possible. I want to get to Steaming because thank you for your patience, buddy, when we were doing the earlier part. Which is true, patella tear or ACL injury? Are they the same? For Josh Simmons, it is a patellar tendon tear. The patella is your kneecap itself, the bone. You can't tear that. So what happened is it comes off generally, and I don't know anything about his specific injury. Generally what it is it shears off the insertion, they call it, where it attaches into your lower bone, your shin on the tibia, right? And so that shears off, and you have to repair that, re-anchor it, and it attaches below the leg. It is technically a soft tissue. It has blood flow, you can get some repair. The ACL is a ligament that stabilizes the knee joint from the inside. Think of it as this is a knee joint. Your patellar tendon comes down over your knee and attaches below the knee to the next bone down the tibia. The patellar tendon, the ACL is inside the joint, as though the wrist were a knee. It's inside, and it's a structure that keeps the shear forces from the bones doing this and moving forward laterally on top of each other. So very, very different, obviously both with the knee. Recovery times are similar, but for very different reasons, because the weight bearing and the shear forces are harder on the ACL. The extension and the ability to control the muscular contraction is the challenge for the patellar tendon. Always has to be rehabbed, and everybody's a little bit different. But great question, and thank you for asking it, folks. Get your super chats in, folks. We're going to go on time because I need to go take a nap after this last couple of weeks. So that's the way that's going to go. Beefy, thank you. Info. Thoughts on taking 2 defensive tackles? We might lose Tui Pelotu if he doesn't seem like a big deal to me. I like Tui Pelotu, but if he couldn't get on the field last year, and we don't see him like soon in OTAs, like screaming around, you might be right. I don't know. I'm fine with doubling up at the DT position. Dan, are you?
They might need to. They might have to. Realistically, they have 1-year deals on a couple of guys, and then there's nobody else outside of Chris Jones. They don't have anybody. They have to bring some type of talent in. And if you're not double dipping at some point within a draft, specifically one that's, again, as the Chiefs have said, very good along the defensive line, what are you doing?
It's a fair question. Starting with you from Terry, who's your draft crush in the first round, Dan?
I mean, again, we go back to Josh Simmons. I think that would be ideal, but it doesn't feel like that's a realistic possibility anymore. The same with Walter Nolan. They'd have to trade up to get either one of those guys. So if we're talking about players that I think that the Chiefs can get where they are and maybe a little bit different terms of not going tackle, I'll just take tackle off the board right now. I think Kenneth Grant makes a lot of sense. Would be a really good fit already. But I know everyone wants to talk about guys like we're talking about Derek Harmon. We're going to get to his evaluation on Wednesday. Defensive ends, they're never going to happen. They're never going to draft the guys that I want them to draft. So I would not be shocked if we saw someone like Nick Scorton in Kansas City come the end of the first round. That wouldn't shock me at all. That just feels like what it is. But Trey Amos is another guy that I would be very, very happy to see in Kansas City at the end of the first round. But if we're talking, those, I just don't think wide receiver in the first round makes a lot of sense for this team. Omarion Hampton would be great, but again, I don't think they're going to take a first round pick at running back unless he's the best player on the board. But Mykel Williams, maybe you could, maybe realistically he's around that time, so maybe trade up to see him. Yeah. But I don't have any gotta have it except Josh Simmons. That'd be awesome, but
yeah, it's getting harder and harder to see it from here. I agree with you. You named a couple of the guys that I like. For me, the crush is circumstantial, right? There's only, and I've only barely started putting my board together finally now that the draft guide is done. But man, it's thin. It's thin as far as I can tell right now. And I have more crushes on day 2 than I do
Yes,
on day
absolutely.
one. So
Absolutely.
I will hold my judgment until we talk about day 2. But thank you, Terry. Appreciate you.
I like it.
Josh Simmons has visited the Chiefs, but also the Colts, Packers, Ravens, and next the Cardinals. Yes, that's absolutely true. But Matt Derrick was wise and said this to me a couple weeks ago. If you really think that he's a possibility, you have to have him in. You have to have him in your building so your doctors can get their hands on him, because you can't take a chance. And so we're talking about 5 teams. That significantly narrowed down who's able to do it. Yes, they're all above the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of the pick order. It doesn't necessarily mean that all these teams are comfortable doing it in the first round. So there are possibilities. And I thank you, Joe, for a dose of reality, and I appreciate that. But it does mean that there are people that see what we see on film and that it might actually be worth the risk of a player who could never pan out. You never know. So
that's the thing. It's for the most part, it's a crapshoot, especially where the Chiefs are picking.
Oh man, 31 is going to be. If they end up with Scorton again, you're going to watch me melt. FLDB, thank you. Almost 4 years. You're 2 months away. He is the man. And if you are in the Discord, if you're one of the members who enjoys the Discord, you can thank him, along with Stevie Keys back in the day, setting that thing up, getting it going. But FLDB is the band that takes care of stuff and has been really helpful to me, because I don't know anything about Discord. I just know it's a cool community to have something. So if you want, you can get in the memberships. You can join at rookie level or below. You can get those down below. We appreciate you. Thanks for being here all the time and taking care of stuff. Appreciate it. Do you think it's possible that we take a CB or tight end in the first round if OT and DT is not there anymore? Anyone that we like? I think it's definitely a possibility, because, again, there may not be any of their positional need first round grades left. Could there be one at one of those positions? Possibly. I know that there's some off-field concerns, whatever. The more that I've seen Hairston, I like him as a little nickel. I don't think he's a first-round grade. I think he'd be a reach at 31. But it could be another situation, much like FAU, where you take the best guy that can do something for you on your board.
If Will Johnson falls because of his pro day today, and the Chiefs are like, dude, we have to go. This would be another situation like Trent McDuffie. This is exactly what it would be. He is a perfect fit for the Chiefs defense. I don't care what anybody says about him being only a zone fit. No. He can play man just fine. Just go back to 2023, guys. He played a whole different defense last year. Wink Martindale doesn't know how to run college defense, okay? He has no clue, zero idea what to do. And he played through last year with an injury as well. But if Will Johnson is on the board nearing the 20s, don't be shocked if the best players aren't there, if they go to try to draft that player, because then you can say, all right, Trent, we'll put you out there on first, second down. And then when we go into our nickel, you can pop down in the nickel and we'll have Christian Fulton and Will Johnson out there on the field and feel really comfortable with that group. I think that's a very decent possibility if he's still there.
I like it, man. I tell you what, how bad did he run? I didn't see the result.
He didn't run a 40, I don't think, or he something like 4.5 or something like that. I don't remember if he ran a 40 or not. But he's I don't care about the drills for him. I doubt he's still I doubt he's fully healthy still. Like he says he's healthy, he's not healthy. He's absolutely not healthy. So I don't care about that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, hey, that could be a scenario that we might have to look at here coming up, folks. You never know what's going to happen. Alex, thank you. Hey, fellas, have the Chiefs failed Mahomes twice?
A little bit.
It's fair to say that. I would characterize it as once this last time, because you didn't know what you didn't know. Possibly you could say that you thought you were prepared, whatever. This time you knew you were in trouble. Like, we were screaming about it all year and still couldn't get it done. So that's what I would say. How do you feel?
Yeah. The first time was injuries, right? They got hurt. There's nothing they could do. You can't prepare for that. Having 3 starting offensive linemen go down before the Super Bowl, you can't prepare for something like that. You came into the season with 2 basically rookies vying for starting at left tackle and a right tackle who has not gotten better as a player as you projected him to. Again, you put your money in a basket and you said, we project him getting better. He was 25 years old. Well, time's ticking. He's not getting any better. And now they're doing the same thing with Jalen Moore, who's 27 years old, who's never started about 5 games in the league. we'll wait and see. But overall, they put their eggs in the projection basket a little bit too much in my mind, when you should sometimes. Now, this offseason was not the time to do it. I'm okay with it right now. I want to make that very clear. I'm okay with this past offseason. They didn't go full Juwan Taylor on Jalen Moore. They said, we'll go ahead and just kind of parse this one out and see what happens. But overall, they typically they shoot for that upside. And none of the guys they've really done that with free agency have come in and really gotten a whole lot better.
Yeah. And that's part of the issue. You know, you can try, and you can keep trying. Eventually, you gotta bite the bullet and get the investment done. Folks, we're going to take all of your questions, your super chats. We'll get an answer tonight, no matter what, but we're going to speed through it here in just a little bit. But first, I have completely gotten to the point where I'm watching too much hockey. It's on in the background when I'm looking at film. It's on all the time. If you want to get into the action with hockey, I am here to help you. And I'm just going to take this matchup. It's the first one. There's a couple of guys that I like. This is San Jose against Vancouver. Georgiev, I think you can safely bet the 24 saves is definitely something you're going to get higher. Is he going to give up 3 goals? I would probably take the over on that too. I'm perfectly fine with that. If you want to get into this, you can do it with our code RGR and our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. There's a couple other players on here. Guy that has been really helping me this year, and I have to give him credit because I didn't expect it when I picked him up for nothing as a free agent. DeBrusk been putting shots on goal and making me money, and I really appreciate it. Hronek has been pretty good as well. I don't think that he's worth a super gamble because he's so inconsistent for me. But the guy that I do like is Toffoli, and you're not going to get the super margins and pickups here. But I do think whether he scores tonight or not, you might be able to make something out of that. And a 10x given those amounts, I think I like the odds of doing something like this and getting it done over at Underdog Fantasy. If you can't see the bottom there, I think I should probably take that off because that is the way to roll if you're interested in getting into Underdog Fantasy and paying attention to not just hockey, but Major League Baseball's going. Obviously, the NBA is fired up, and always there will be football. You can do it at Underdog Fantasy and use our code RGR. We would greatly appreciate it, and definitely helps us out as well. Help those that help us, and thank you to Underdog. So, with that said, Alex's question was a good one. I don't want to dwell on it, so we're going to move on. Bradley, I got to ask you both, are you happy with the drafts almost over in 10 days? Yeah, it's been a tough one this year. We changed out some of our help. The guys that are working with us on some of the film stuff this year. The shows have been different. A lot of expectations on both of us this year that were changes. So I think we'll breathe a sigh of relief, but I'm going to be excited to see those draft picks about, 48 hours after they get picked.
Yeah, it's not so much about being excited or happy that it's almost over. I'm kind of burnt out on 2025's class. I want to start watching 2026 guys. Like that's what I start wanting to do. It's not so much that I'm like tired of doing this. It's about wanting to watch guys that we're going to be playing next year, right, in college football. So it's just wanting to do something a little bit different because we're all watching the same guys now, and it's 10 days out, and they're just like, all right, cool.
Right? Okay, maybe you're going to work out. I don't know. Let's see. Old Pass, thank you. Appreciate the support. NECBs that can play nickel in the draft. I don't want to see a corner. I mentioned Harrison. I think he can definitely be a starting nickel in this league. He's got the speed. He's got the twitch, I feel. I wouldn't say that there's a ton of nickel onlys, but there's guys that can go in there. Who's your favorite?
Kobe Bryant. I think Kobe Bryant makes a ton of sense because he's a bit smaller, but he's got the physical attitude to play at the NFL level, and he's small, he's quick, he's twitchy, he's got ball skills, and he reads the field well. I think that would be a really fun fit in Kansas City, specifically because if you need him to play outside, guess what? He can play outside. He can do that for you. So there's a little bit there, exactly, and he's a Jayhawk, so a lot of people will be happy about that. Another guy is where is he on my sheet here? I already did the grade for him, but I can't find his name. I have so many things here.
Well, that's the way that
problem
goes for me too.
It's a problem. I believe it's Jalen Smith out of USC. Cornerback, a guy who probably fits best as that corner nickel safety spot. He's not going to be the fastest guy in the world, but he's able to do that for you. I think Zy Alexander is a fun Kansas City fit, not necessarily a corner in terms of a nickel player, but I think that's just kind of what I'm throwing in there because we're talking about corners and stuff like that. So yeah, yes, it was Jalen Smith out of USC. So good for me remembering his name.
Well done. And if I correct me if I'm wrong, I think he took over some of the nickel duties when he was in there from CRW. Yeah. So I like that connection as well. You can see the way that some schools are scouted based on what they do as their scheme because it fits for a lot of teams. And I do think that is something that the Chiefs definitely pay attention to. Thank you for the question. That was a great one. Let's see. Douglas, can the Chiefs trade down and still get the OT from Oregon? That's Josh Connerly. Yeah. And then with the extra pick, get wide receiver and DT in the top 100. It's an interesting concept, and I do think it's possible, but you can't go too far. Personally, I don't know how it's going to go with the top couple of picks. You have the Bears, you have the Titans that you have close relationships with. You might be able to pull something there. The Cleveland Browns, who knows how they'll screw up the first round. In the second round, are they going to want to trade back into 31? That's going to be the question. Some team, and if it's in the upper 30s, I could do it. If you can go to 35, 37, and get another pick and let them go get the quarterback so they can have the fifth year, that's perfectly fine with me. And I think Connerly might survive that long.
Yeah, I think that some of his power concerns, I know everyone's going to point to his end of the season. I still don't think he handles power well, regardless. I don't think it's very good. So his anchor is an issue. So I think that's going to push him down a little bit. So you do have, especially if he's not been taken by the time the Chiefs come at 31, I do think there's a chance that he will be there if they trade back within 10 picks and still be able to do that.
Okay, I agree. Thanks, Doug. CJ, thoughts on Marcus Yarns from Delaware? I like him as receiving back if we miss out on some guys. What do you think?
So Yarns is a hole-hitting guy, right? He needs a clear path. I don't think he's going to be someone that is a first and second down savant in the NFL. Third down, but he's not going to be the best pass protector. He's a guy that will take it the house, though, if a crease opens up. So there is a role for him in an offense. I do worry about, he's a bit smaller. He's on the smaller side, and obviously he doesn't have the best contact balance coming out and being as small as he is. So he's going to need a crease, right? You see some of that. And because he is smaller, the Chiefs don't want to put guys in position where they have to pass protect a ton. So if they can't do it, like if they can't do it, they don't want them to be in those positions. So I don't know if he'll be on their board specifically for that reason. But speed, receiving ability, make guys miss in space, that's all there.
Yeah, I'm with you. Bradley, Kay Adams had who's a Chiefs hater. Yeah. Don't even get me started about Kay. That run-in was a long time ago. She had Justin Simmons on her show, the former Broncos and I believe Falcons safety, and asked him if he would go to the Chiefs. And in my opinion, I would say no because he's 31. Well, there's a reason teams aren't picking him up. He has hit a wall. But the Chiefs are very good at rekindling that. If he wanted to take a very low-end contract with some incentives, I could possibly see it. But Mike Edwards kind of feels that role as the veteran in the room. So I don't know if there's a whole lot of playtime here right now.
That, and he also said he doesn't really want to play for Kansas City. He wants to beat Kansas City. So no offense.
We did. Okay.
Take it somewhere else.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, help those that help themselves. Get out of here. Will, appreciate you also ticking away on 3.5 years in the memberships, keeping us going. We appreciate you. How many OTs in the draft do you have a higher grade on than Kingsley last year? How many RBs in the draft have the ability to become the Chiefs starter this year if we draft them? Well, I will tell you, I have 3 running backs probably in my mind that would become the starter were they drafted in Kansas City. And I would have to go pull my numeric on Kingsley, but I will tell you I have at least 3, probably 4 tackles that would have been above him if they were in the same class pretty easily. It's not the 7 or 8 that were above him last year on my board anyway.
I would probably only have 2.
Yeah, okay.
Will Campbell and Josh Simmons. I think in terms of, again, the traits, he would have been right after Josh Simmons in terms of traits in this class. Would have been Kingsley. And I don't think there's much argument about that personally. It's more about the experience and then playing right tackle and left tackle and BYU, the experience of Is he playing anybody? You know, that thing. So
Right.
I think he would have probably been 3 for me in this class.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Iceberg, what do you think about trading out and make sure we get some premium talent in 2026? I'm not so concerned about 2026. Trading out and getting more top 100s, that's something I could be in on. I don't care about getting rid of the sevenths. I just don't care. Get rid of them. They're not going to make this roster anyway. There's so few spots here that the floor of the practice squad guys that aren't here is pretty damn good. So I don't see a reason to keep those.
No, I don't either. And again, you can't count on the next draft. You can't. Just like last year, you can't count on the 2025 draft. It always looks better the year out. But until we see those players play and then we are scouting them for next season, we don't actually know. So everyone that says don't draft a tackle this year, do it next year, you don't know. We have no idea. If a player is high on the Chiefs board and it's a tackle, guess what? He's going to get drafted. That's just how it works.
Especially when you're picking at 30. Alex, thank you for the support, buddy. How about the NFL adopts the NBA lottery draft? I am not in favor of it. No, I don't think that's balance. I think that's too much random possibilities.
The lottery is one of the worst things to happen to sports in terms of drafts. It's the worst. Teams that don't deserve it get the number 1 pick, and teams that do deserve it don't. As a fan of the Detroit Pistons and the Detroit Red Wings over the last decade plus, I can tell you, you get screwed every single year when your team is bottom 2, bottom 3 in the league, and you're picking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No.
Moving on. I triggered Dan. Apologies, guys. It doesn't matter what tackle we draft. I don't have any confidence in our O-line coaching. Am I wrong? I wouldn't say that you're absolutely right, but it is something to be a little bit concerned about. Time goes on and people do lose their ability to connect with people, whatever. I'm not saying Andy Heck is a bad coach, but it hasn't worked out lately. That's for sure. So I would not say that I have no confidence in him. I just think they have to change some things up and get back, in my opinion, to basics.
If Jalen Moore doesn't get better, if whoever they end up putting at right tackle next or left tackle next doesn't get better, we can have a serious conversation about this, a real one. Because while I still believe Andy Heck is one of the best offensive line coaches in football, at a certain point, like Ryan says, if it's not working anymore, it's not working. Something has to change. And Andy Reid is sometimes very, very non-receptive to change or seeing something that's been happening over the course of the last 5 or 6 years and not adjusting to it in his people that he trusts opinion. So if Jalen Moore in the next 2 years is the same player and you see Kingsley not develop a tackle, you see whoever they bring in not develop at right tackle, yeah, it's absolutely time to probably talk about it, at least.
I think it's perfectly reasonable at that point. I don't know if I'm not in the building. You know what I mean? So I'm hesitant to say, yeah, it's him, because I'm not there. And that's the problem. And honestly, there are fewer places that are harder to get into than an NFL locker room or an NFL offensive line meeting room than anywhere else, because those guys don't talk. Those guys don't want their news out. Nobody's leaking O-line news. You know what I mean?
All I'll say is that Zach Tom, a 5th round pick, the Packers consistently do it. I'm sorry. If teams that like the Packers can consistently do it and the Chiefs can't do it, there has to be something going on. There has to be.
I completely agree. There has to be something related, and I don't know where it is. Some mocks have Chiefs linked to Mizzou offensive lineman Cameron Johnson. Thoughts? I honestly, it's always worth a shot to take somebody and develop them. What I saw was not anything that made me want to go out and grab them. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, no. Every time I watched defenders go up against Cameron Johnson, guys that aren't necessarily world beaters, it didn't end up looking all that great. So, again, the Chiefs have developmental players on their roster. They like Ethan Driscoll, and I mean, who knows about Kingsley? I don't think they're going to be looking for someone in that regard to draft and look to long-term develop.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. It is what it is. Can we trade Trey Smith, and what we can get for him? Does it make sense? I don't think you can trade Trey Smith right now. I don't think there's no takers. There's no takers. He signed the tag tender, so he's locked in at the moment. Now they can work on a contract, which if he accepts, then you could at that point. But I don't think anybody's trading for Trey right now, especially during draft season. Free agency might have been a different deal if you really felt you had to. But in the end, I think you lose money and you weaken the one thing you did learn again. You have to have right, and that's the offense.
Yeah.
We're going to speed it up here, folks. We got a couple of minutes. We watched the Eagles humiliate us in the Super Bowl. What is the argument against going D-line first round and the next 3 to 4 drafts in a row? We have serious lack of depth in the D-line. The problem is that contracts are going to age you out at other positions. That's what it is. It's balance. You're going to lose some offensive linemen. You're going to lose some weapons. Who knows what happens with Rashee Rice? You're talking 3 to 4 drafts. You will have to give Rashee Rice a contract. Trey McDuffie, Karlaftis. There's plenty of things that have to get done in the meantime. That's the big problem, Bill Surge.
Yeah, you have to have that kind of balance, right? The Eagles have done well to be in position to draft guys like Jalen Carter at 10. Sometimes it falls into your lap. It is what it is, right? You can't know. And the Chiefs have not picked inside the top 10 since they traded up for Patrick Mahomes. Okay?
Right?
So let's put this into perspective.
Traded up to get to the top 10.
Yeah. It takes a lot, and the Eagles have been up and down, right? They've drafted inside the top 10, drafted inside the top 15 over the course of the last 5-6 years. The Chiefs have not had that luxury. So it's not as simple as just drafting defensive tackle here, defensive end here. They have to be one high on your board, and also they have to hit, right? You have to hit.
Yeah. It is what it is. Thank you, Belisarius. Beach, first 2 picks, which one you want? Josh Simmons or Norman Lott, Omar from Tennessee, or Walter Nolan and Darian Porter? Thinking we have to trade up in the first. I think I agree with you. I like Norman Lott a lot. As a second rounder, I could live with that, and I think that's a nice 1-2 punch. Porter, I think, is a little bit closer with third, maybe low third to me. Mm-hmm. So that's not as good a combination, in my opinion. But Walter Nolan could be the next Chris Jones.
Both Lott and Porter for me would be third round picks. Like, that's how I would see this for me. So I don't like the idea of selecting both of them in the second round, but again, depends on who's there. So I think I'd rather have Josh Simmons and or Walter Nolan like in the first round. Yeah, those are my options. Awesome. I also don't think it's realistic anymore. Like I've already talked myself over this as being a realistic scenario where either of them is available in their range, because I just did a Walter Nolan breakdown for Draft Network. It'll be up tomorrow. That dude is unreal. Like, there are some things he has to work on, but he's unreal. And Ole Miss is awful. Their defense is one of the worst things I have ever watched. Just not.
And the big thing that people are saying are his drawbacks are that he's a mercenary and he's hopped schools and he's gotten paid all these places. I'm talking about professional football. I'm okay with that. I'm going to pay you. Be a mercenary. Be as good as you can be. You get paid better the better you play. Go show me. That's what I'm talking about. Does Jawan Taylor have any trade value for draft night? I'm sorry, Patrick. I regret to inform you that no, he has no value.
Probably not. I would love it though. Honestly, love, right? Again, I'm telling you, I think that Jalen Moore would be better at right tackle. I believe it. I truly do. And if they were to be able to trade Jawan Taylor, it would make sense to me. It would make a lot of sense.
Get up to a spot to take a left tackle, then I assume, correct? Right, as part of the package.
If they do it in the first round, if they trade up to get a guy like Josh Simmons, and then on day 2 you package Jawan Taylor and you chip him off, kind of like the Eagles did when they traded off. They traded the Lions when they traded away DeAndre Swift when they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, that's kind of the scenario I'm talking about.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, we're gonna speed zone these ones. Patrick, is there a position that you would be upset if they drafted in the first round, running back? Who would make Dan throw his phone at the live stream, which has happened and probably will again? What would
I'm
do
not
it,
gonna
Dan?
do it. I'm not gonna do it. We're gonna be better. All right. That was a few drafts ago. I've gotten better. We talk realistically, but something that I wouldn't love the most, right, is again a Nick Scorton in the first round. I would not be happy. Like I wouldn't be jumping for joy about that. The more I watched, I was like, Jaden Higgins in the first round. I'd be a little upset about that. I like Jaden, but like with one of their third round picks, like the first one in the third round, perfect. I wouldn't love running back in the first round unless it's Amari and Hampton. Like I could talk myself into that. But overall, those are just a couple of things that I wouldn't love it, but I can understand it to an extent.
For me, it's the men named Shamar. I don't have either of them in the first round, and I'm worried at how many times I'm seeing their names related to Kansas City right now. So,
Shamar, I think he's going in the top 15, so I don't think I have to worry about
that. I have serious doubts about all of them. And honestly, Scorton's right there with them. I don't know what they're doing in Texas A&M, but I'm not happy with it. Beach, trade it for Simmons or trade back for 42 and 113 to get Ursary and Miles Frazier. Honestly, if I'm trading back to 42, I'm getting something a hell of a lot better than 113. I have to get a top 80 pick in addition to moving back 12 spots, 11 spots. Yeah, that'd be a no deal for me. But if you're going to take Ursary at the top of the second, you have 42-ish in the top half, that's a workable scenario. Miles Frazier's solid as well. I'm not somebody that I'm really aiming for, but that would work.
I like Miles. I think he can play right tackle. I mean, I was really impressed with the way he did at the Senior Bowl. Like, I was really impressed.
That helps. I mean, then that shows you the adaptability that you can throw somebody into and make that change. Beefy just rewatched Ted Lasso, and it got me thinking. Good for you. Season 4 is coming, I guess. What would relegation look like in the NFL? Have the bottom teams demoted to the UFL or some lesser league? Entertaining for sure. There is no lesser league. They can't keep a league together. It doesn't exist. It's called college football.
This is a great question, Beefy. Don't let Ryan. Don't let him do it. The UFL is not the same thing, but it should be the farm system for the NFL. It should be. So yes, it should be. So if you have an 0-16 team and then you have one team that wins the UFL, let them swap. Let's just get crazy with it for once in a while. This would be a lot of fun. And then it would just show everybody that, no, it needs to stay the way it is. That's exactly what it would do.
There would be pushback. All right, last couple here, and we will let you guys get on with your day. Live stream tomorrow night. Thoughts on Logan Brown? I've worked up Logan Brown. I didn't put him in my top 15 in the draft guide with a solid grade because I need to see a little bit more. The athleticism's there. I do like him as a developmental player, but top 100, no. Not enough that you can bet on that position being filled by that player. But a developmental guy that could grow into it, I really do like him. And it's not just because he's a Jayhawk. I think it's legit. Dan will confirm.
Yeah, I think that is in the 5th round. You're loving that. Like that's a Chiefs-y 5th round pick right there. That's exactly what that is. He's got the athleticism. Like he's that developmental kind of player.
Chiefs-y. I'm stealing that. Kings, hope you're doing good, Mo. If Golden falls to 31, would you take a chance on him? Didn't he just turn himself in for some warrant or something? No. I mean, with everything that Kyron Lacey and now, it was Bond. Okay, my fault. Okay, possibly. I mean, but again, is that the best value at 31? And if the phones aren't ringing and no one will take your trade back call, then maybe.
It's tough for me to take Golden there. I like, and honestly, he would be a really nice fit in this offense in terms of timing. He's the best timing receiver in the draft, in my mind. I fully believe it. He plays with the internal clock of an NFL pro. He gets his head around on time. He opens the chest for the quarterback. He's right there where he needs to be most of the time. He's not going to give you much after the catch. He's not. He's not an after the catch guy. He does not handle contact through the route well. But he's more competitive than I expected to find at the catch point. Like he outworked some guys, but he's relatively small. You have to realize that too. So he would fit in terms of the Hollywood Brown role next year if he's not there anymore. So if he's the best value on the board, I'm not going to be ultra mad about them selecting him at 31, but I think there's most likely going to be some better fit for what they need right now in that scenario.
Makes sense to me. Folks, thank you very much. Check out Underdog Fantasy and make sure that you go get the draft guide, because it is the culmination of months and months and months of our work, and it will help you enjoy this draft and whatever the Chiefs do. You can get it here. You can get a discount with the code RGR. Make sure that you use that as well. It's got stats. It's got the athletic matrix baked in, as well as all of our film grades, everything laid out in the tiers that you want to go get, guys. You're going to find some names in there that you don't recognize, and that is always a good thing. We very much appreciate your support and checking us out. Have a great night. Live mock draft tomorrow night. I will get it done. And Dan's got something fun for you on Wednesday. It's ticking down, folks. 10 days. Get ready. Whew, Daniel, have a great night and say hi to the ladies.
You as well, everyone. Have a great night. Derek Carmen on Wednesday. Enjoy it. I know we're going to have lots of fun this next 10 days, guys. Just looking forward to the live stream for the draft. It's always a lot of fun.
Don't throw anything at the TV. Have a great night. We'll catch you next time.